absolutely at home. In terms of content consumption. Uh, just to touch upon content consumption as well, there is more creation now happening in regional markets compared to tier one cities as well. I think I'm about time here, and I'm just right on time here in terms of what I wanted to share. From a technology point of view, you would, through the course of today, hear it from our experts on all of these topics like 5G, AI, sustainability, and content creation and consumption trends. I'll be around in this room, and I would be more than happy to talk to you. Just to leave you with this slide, it would be amiss if I don't talk about what I do for a living. I'm from social media research. I would be more than happy to talk to you about some of those technology trends that we spoke about today and work with you probably in any of these domains. We have been around for some time, and as a homegrown research firm, we are the only ones out there tracking the market, talking about consumer and enterprise technology trends, and as well as enabling Indian homegrown multinationals as well in their go-to-market strategies. So it's been great talking to you, and I wish you all the very best in terms of what's going to happen through the course of today. If there's any feedback, do let me have it. And I'll hand it over to my colleague here. And please don't forget to download QR code. This is not a feedback form at all. This is just for you to connect with me and stay connected as we move forward. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Prabhu, for that opening note. And from the auspicious name that the speaker has, we move to another auspicious ceremony of the morning and starting of the conference. I would now like to invite our esteemed guests for the lamp lighting ceremony. May I please invite Dr. R.K. Upadhyay, CEO CDOT, Lieutenant General A.K. Bhatt, Director General ISPA, Puneet Chopra, CTO HPE, Professor N.K. Goyal, President CMI and Chairman Emeritus TIMA, and Sheena Joseph, National Head, Customer Service and Operations, Enterprise Business, Vodafone Idea. Along with that, Mr. Pradeep Gupta, Chairman, Cyber Media Group. Can we please have the lamp lighting ceremony? Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for that. And for the inaugural session, may I now invite Mr. Pradeep Gupta, Chairman, Cyber Media Group, to start the Voice and Data 23rd edition of the Telecom Leadership Forum with his welcome note and set the context for the inaugural session. May I also request our guests for the inaugural session to please join him on stage. May I invite Dr. R.K. Upadhyay, Lieutenant General A.K. Bhatt, and Mr. Vijay Sharma, the Senior Director, Sales CNI, will be joining us shortly. Over to you, PG.
So good morning and welcome to all of you. Prabhu gave an excellent start and has talked about what we should be looking at in the future. let me just delve a bit into the past because, as was mentioned earlier, we started in 1994. So this year, starting July, we would be starting our 30th year. I'm sure around July time we will. Thank you very much. And in the past, we've seen some tremendous changes that have taken place in the industry. I mean, it's been fascinating, this journey of 13 plus. I remember in 1994, um, uh, I remember in 1994 when we started the publication. So, question which was asked was question which was asked was voice and data. But what is data? I mean, because it was voice alone that used to be used on the publication. So I guess we were looking ahead in the future. Because recently I was told, why are you called voice and data? You should be data and voice, because there is hardly any voice on the telecom networks. So that is the kind of a change that has occurred in the last 3 years. Um, that time there were no mobile phones, and then we did see mobile phones coming in, and then transforming the entire thing with smartphones, and how exactly how each and every you know personal life, corporate life, your own work, everything got altered because of this particular device, the mobile phone. So it's indeed been a very, very fascinating journey. And just about 4 years back, we again saw the telecom industry rising to the challenge of COVID, because connectivity was the most important thing in that. And the industry stood up and ensured that we remain connected during that particular time when connection was so difficult. The physical connection was so difficult. It was essentially telecom which kept the humanity continuing. So it's absolutely been fascinating for this entire day. Prabhu has already talked about what we should be looking at, and some of these issues are what we would be discussing as the day progresses. Once again, welcome. Thank you very much.
Now I would like to call upon stage Dr. R.K. Upadhyay, CEO, C. Dot. His illustrious career includes 3 decades of technical expertise and leadership in telecom, information technology, defense, and broadcasting sectors. His previous assignments include Additional Director General and Head South India Prasar Bharati, Deputy Director General Department of Telecommunications, Government of India, and with Telecom Regulatory Authority of India. Let me welcome Dr. Upadhyay.
Morning, everyone. Good morning. It's a really privilege and honor to be amongst you, talk about what's happening in the industry from our perspective. I think Mr. Prabhu gave a nice presentation that what the future looks like, and definitely, all the collaborative spirit what we have on all of us is not only taking the industry forward, but also pushing us for making more innovation and more progress for our country. We all know we are the second largest telecommunication market today. And as who said, more than 850 billion users on internet, connected users on internet. Telecom has been one of the key drivers for the economic growth. Today, its share in the GDP is 9%. 9% of the GDP is come. So it's one of the major economic driver apart from providing technological solutions or the driving other verticals is also very important source for economic growth. It contributes around 4 million jobs, and more jobs are likely to come once the 5G use cases. We had the fastest 5G rollout in the country. We started late. I think compared to many countries, we were late, but we kind of overtaken most of them by fastest rollout in this country. Today, if I see the latest report as of December, we have connected 738 districts with 4 lakh plus BTSs and 131 million 5G users customers. It's a very good progress, and in fact, when I was there in Barcelona along with our secretary, I think lot many countries, lot of people we met, and everybody was appreciating that how India could do it, because it was thought that this is the cup of tea for very advanced nations, but in collectively industry and government together show that how we can move forward if we work together. And the report is already there that 5G is the data consumption on 5G is already 3.6 times more than what it used to be in 4G. So government also took a lot of good decisions in terms of quickly doing auctions. For example, auctions were completed within 42 days, right from the day one to the end, and the spectrum was issued in 24 hours. ROW, you may be aware, government has done a lot of good work in ROW, which used to take 52 weeks. Today, it takes 1 week. There's a portal, and the portal gives you the exact status where you are going to do. Recently, Honorable Minister announced regulatory sandbox, wherein the new startups, new entrepreneurs, if they want to test in a real working situation, using the real spectrum, the real network, the government will allow. Mostly, BSNL network will be used for this purpose. You also know that government came up with the Telecom Act, which basically we were running with the Telecom Act of 1885. I don't know why all of us did not think that this act needs a change. And Honorable Minister, the day he came and he said, "Ye Act 1885 पर क्यों चल रहा है अंग्रेजों के समझ में?" And it's a very forward-looking act which has come, which solves all the legacy problems and also looks forward at how we can move forward. Government has taken a lot of other things, because now, if you look at the market, the telecom market today, the total market of electronics, if I say, around $114 billion. Primarily, it is coming from outside. So, and the second thing is the manufacturing base was hardly there in India. The government decided that we should set up the manufacturing base, because if we need to move in the value chain totally, so we need to manufacturing, we need to do innovation, we need to do patenting, we need to do installation. So in this series, government came up first with PLI scheme. There are to be seen. If you look at the production, which was 2017, we had $49 billion of production we were doing. Currently, we are doing $100 billion of production, electronic production in India, and it is to be $300 billion by 2026, and we are quite on track. One of the major achievement of this PLI scheme has been the mobile phone. Unfortunately, Mr. Mahendra is not here, so on behalf of him, I can give some data. We are producing $50 billion worth of mobile phones per year now. $50 billion, and we are exporting $15 billion of mobile phones to the outside world. So it is not only consumed in India, it is also consumed outside. So it's a very big achievement that we are able to use $50 billion and $35 billion worth we are consuming in India, and $15 billion we are consuming outside. And this export, given the trend, given the policies, given the industry working, because if you see, lot many assembly facilities have come up. Recently, I have been to Dixon in Noida. I saw the very modernized facility, producing phones, and there are such many facilities which have come in India. So what it means, it gives rise to ancillary industries, it gives rise to jobs, it gives rise to skill development, and so that. And now the next target of the government is in the mobile phones, the value addition which comes from India should increase year by year, and which we already see happening. Because initially the PLI scheme is not linked with what you do in terms of promoting Indian industry. But automatically, given these assembly lines have come up, these ancillary industries are already taking place nicely. Another good pointer towards the healthy telecom market is the FDI. It rose by 150%. We had FDI of approximately $8.3 billion between 2000 to 2014. From 14 to 23, the FDI rose to $20.72 billion. So almost a rise of almost 3 times. Now government has also allowed FDI of 100%, so that whatever investments are required in this industry from the abroad can come in. We as a government are looking that going forward, all these 4G, 5G, 6G, India should take a lead. And I don't know how many of you are aware, India has already developed its 4G and 5G stack, both core, radios, billing solutions. It's a complete stack India has developed. One of these stacks has already been deployed in BSNL. It is already giving service in Punjab and Haryana. Currently, on 5 lakh customers are being serviced with a data rate of 70 terabyte per day. And the nationwide launch is expected somewhere in April. I mean, by April, we should be ready, lighting up the data centers in Trichy for South Zone, Calcutta for East Zone, and Pune in West Zone. Soon, India will see its own 4G and 5G driven by Indian design in India, manufactured in India. Look at Tejas today. All these years we have been buying radio equipment from outside. Today Tejas is able to produce world-class radio equipment, and after the launch in BSNL, you will see that Tejas finding its inroads into the export market very, very easily. We recently signed, when I was in Barcelona, we signed an agreement with Qualcomm, wherein whatever products are around Qualcomm, if these need to be designed, we will take all the necessary help from Qualcomm. Qualcomm has also allowed us to not to charge or charge very minimally the license fee for the chip. For example, their license fee run into $4 million, $2 million, which is very difficult for startups to come up. And therefore, we signed an agreement with Qualcomm so that whoever designs any product around Qualcomm will give free license, will not be charged. So any of the startups industry, if they want to develop any products around Qualcomm chips, they need not pay the license fee or have to pay very nominal amount of license fee. Government is also, to complete the value chain, is coming up with fab. Recently, you saw there was a fab inaugurated by the Prime Minister. We are setting up ATMP facilities. We are setting up OSAT facilities. I'll also say that government came up with the TTDF scheme, Telecom Technology Development Fund, wherein we have every year a fund of 500 to 600 crore. Last year, we took care of 100 proposals in TTDF 1.0. And this year, TTDF 2.0, we have received 200 proposals. But I would like to talk about some proposals which have come for chip design. We will fund this year 6 chips in India to be made in India. So 6 chips will be funded, which will be made in India, complete IP will be designed in India, and going forward, initially they might get manufactured in TSMC or PSMC. Now the PSMC coming in India, and going forward, these will be manufactured also in India. We are also working on, because we have still many 2G customers in India. Now going forward, people are talking about 5G and 6G. We cannot leave some of the population behind. So this still maybe around 26 crore, I was told, are the 2G phones in India still. So you cannot shut them off. Therefore, government has taken an ambitious project of developing a Bharat 4G phone, which will be maybe 1200, 1300, which will give you 4G facility, so that we can replace the 2G phones with the 4G phones, so that this kind of population, the bottom of the pyramid, also comes into 4G. I would also like to talk about, you all are aware that how cybersecurity, because while the networks are becoming complex, the cybersecurity challenge is also coming. There are a lot of attacks happening to the enterprises, to the nations, to the critical infrastructure, and therefore we also need to take care of cybersecurity. We have done a good work in terms of protecting our national boundaries. We look at the cyber traffic and are able to control most of the attacks which are coming to our India. Going forward, you may be aware that the quantum computing is now taking shape. Quantum computing, once the quantum computing comes, the current level of encryptions, what we run today, AES or whatever kind of encryptions we run, will be rendered useless because the quantum computers will be able to break. And therefore, the new area has come up that is called quantum communication. Government of India is funding heavily this initiative. DST has come up with a scheme of 6,000 crore. The recently National Quantum Mission was launched by Government of India with a budget of 6,000 crore. And these proposals are still open in the DST website. Those of you who are working in the area of quantum, please make use of it and contribute to the nation building in terms of quantum communication. I would also like to say that now R&D has to take pace. R&D also has to go multi-level jump. R&D has to take, and therefore government has set up the NRF, National Research Fund of 50,000 crore. I think recently, currently DST Secretary has been appointed as CEO of NRF. I think industry should take advantage of this National Research Fund. Lastly, I would like to talk about standardization. Without standardization, the game doesn't end, because what happens when whatever you develop, whether you develop phone, you develop radio, you develop phone, these requires standards. Standard need to be built, because the complete, for example, in telecom we use 3GPP standard. How are these standards made? The vendors get in and put their standards inside, and some of these standards get converted to SEP, Standard Essential Patent, and therefore whoever develops will have to pay SEP to the other vendors. Initially, earlier years, 90s, 2000s, the SEPs used to reside in US, then came to Europe. Now they are primarily in China. So as a country, we need to take lead to see that we push our standards into the standard body, and that result into SEP. I'm also happy to tell you, I think most of you will be knowing, India is hosting WTSA and GSS in India in October this year in Bharat Mandapam. I think I encourage all of you to participate in WTSA and GSS, and there are a lot of competition, like for example AI for Good, Kaleidoscope. There are many competitions, many areas where we can directly get into touch with the experts. Prabhu also talked a lot about AI, so I'm not going to touch much, but I can definitely tell one of the application of AI what we have used and is being very heavily. I don't know how many of you are aware of sancharsati.gov.in. In this website, how many of you are aware? I think very limited. Please go through this sancharsati.gov.in site, wherein many citizen-centric services are coming up. For example, you lose your phone, it will be traced. You know how many connections are working in your name without your notice. I myself, when I checked, I had 4 connections. But actually, I have 1 connection. So 3, you can disconnect there itself. The Chakshu was launched by Honorable Minister last month, wherein you can report your suspected fraud. Using this AI, we could, because cyber frauds were increasing in our country rapidly, and we had no clue how to control it. Then came the AI which helped us. You will be surprised to know we have disconnected 80 lakh connections using this AI. 80 lakh fraudulent connections were disconnected using the AI tool which was developed by CDOT. Because using AI, we could find this connection is a fraudulent connection. And therefore, and what happened then, we realized that these connections are also, once we disconnect, but they still continue in WhatsApp, Facebook, Instagram. So then we integrated our platform with the WhatsApp Meta. So now once the connection is cut there, his WhatsApp account is also disabled. Then we connected with the banks. The moment this number is found out, his bank account is frozen. So AI is being used drastically for this. I will end my talk by saying that 5G has delivered in terms of its availability across the country, and going forward, many operators are working very hard that the footprint happens nicely. The 5G use cases. are what will drive the next growth wave. And we encourage the industry, the startups to work with us, and whatever help is required in terms of providing lab, providing radio, providing core, providing test tools, providing lab environment, mentorship, we will be able to provide that. And we look forward for healthy growth in coming years, and we expect that our country, once these 5G and 6G takes over, we do a lot of manufacturing here, a lot of R&D here. It will ultimately turn to a healthy socio-economic growth for our country. So I look forward to working with you and say best of great success to this conference today. I think lot many good speakers are here to learn and how to take the industry forward. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Upadhyay, for giving us that insight into the India future outlook. And now I would like to call on stage Lieutenant General A.K. Bhatt. General Bhatt is Director General of Indian Space Association. He was previously the Director General of Military Operations and has also served as the 47th Commander of 15th Corps of the Indian Army. May I welcome Lieutenant General A.K. Bhatt.
Good morning, Jai Hind. It's a special honor today to be here with Voice&Data and to be able to put across in the connectivity world this very nascent organization or something which is coming now, that is space. And I will take this opportunity also to tell you on what is happening overall in space in the world and specifically in India. But to start with, I will talk to you about my older profession, and that was the army. I was fortunate enough to serve for 40 years with the Gurkhas. And as General Manik Shah had said, they are the most courageous and brave soldiers. There's a story about it, a joke, that when World War II was ending, and India also got the independence, Indian Navy decided that we should also have special forces paratroopers. And paratroopers are people who jump behind enemy lines with parachutes to surprise the enemy and take the enemy from behind. They are our elite forces. So we were looking for troops for that, and this colonel from special forces was going to all other battalions to take volunteers. So he asked one of the CEOs of an Gurkha unit that will I get volunteers from your unit? Of course, he said, well, my men 100% will be volunteers. You come in and talk to them. This colonel came there, had a chat with them, and he described what are you supposed to do in war. You sit in an aircraft, you go behind enemy lines, you jump, then you hit the enemy from behind. So how many of you are volunteers? And out of 100, there were only 50% volunteers. That came as a shock to the commanding officer, to this gentleman also. Oh well, they said 50 is quite good enough. While they were having tea outside, the commanding officer asked him, my God, Gurkhas, only 50% want to jump with a parachute. He said, oh, there's a parachute also. So they were ready to jump without parachutes. And that is how Gurkhas have been. I have also jumped into this world of technology without a parachute. And now I will take you into this very interesting world in which India is there as a lead player, and that is space. I would start with man's forays into space started just when 1945, just before the World War II was getting over. And mind you, it was the Germans who found rocket technology first. They were the ones who first had a ballistic missile, V2 missiles, they were called Vengeance 2, which were created by a German scientist called von Braun. And had this been discovered earlier by Hitler, maybe World War II would have gone different. But well, before the war was over, America planned Operation Paperclip. And Operation Paperclip was picking up the best scientists from Germany and taking them to America for research, basically on the nuclear domain and in space. And hence, this gentleman, von Braun, along with 150 scientists, was taken to. And that was the spinal column or the fundamentals on which later Apollo was launched. In fact, when Apollo was launched, when the landing on the moon took place, this gentleman, von Braun, was given the Medal of Honor in USA. The Russians also did not stay behind. The Americans took 150 scientists. They took his friend who was there, another scientist, brought up with 500 scientists. And mind you, 500 worked better than 150 because the first satellite, the first human being on space was by USSR and not America. Well, this competition between them carried on and slowed down mostly after the moon landing had taken place. Thereafter, the first time space was used by human beings there was an attempt primarily to use it for communication. Now I'll take you fast forward and I'll take you to very recent times where America has been fortunate to have people like Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk who have dreamt about taking human beings to the moon and Mars. They believe human beings cannot be limited to just the Earth, but have to live far beyond in space, in moon and in Mars. And that is how what they have done is they have not only imagined it, they have introduced disruptive technology. And what has happened is in the last first year, the cost for sending anything in space is the cost of a rocket. And a reusable rocket has been made not by NASA of America, but by Elon Musk, a private. Similarly, today, satellites which were half the size of the room now are as big as a small table or even smaller. So, all what has happened in technology has happened. In 2020, there was a conference which the American Space Force, but much before the Space Force was formed, it was called Space Command. They called all the thinkers, scientists, experts in different domains to have a horizon 40 years beyond, that is 2060. They worked out what will happen in space in 2060, commercially, technologically, what are good things, how are things going to happen. And ultimately, after their discussions for 3 to 4 days, they came out with 7 to 8 contingencies. Best case, worst case, what will happen. Now, I'm just going to tell you the best case. What happened in 2016? What they imagine is there will be human beings living on the moon and on Mars. There would be many like international space stations all over the cislunar space, and human beings would be working there for manufacturing. Then it is imagined that most of energy which is produced on Earth, fossil fuel burning, that most likely will stop, and solar power will be beamed down to the Earth to protect our planet as a green planet. And also, mining itself will stop because it will be asteroids and others which will be utilized. Now, if that is the world, of course, it requires a lot of disruptive technologies. It requires a lot of more development in science. But every day, the way things are happening, it is quite likely to happen. India also has to do. So, communication has not only to be terrestrial, but it has to be in space. Not only for people on Earth, but all human beings which will be there all over the world. Now, if that is to happen, and maybe our government also saw some of it coming, and in 2020, space, which till then had only been the domain of the Indian government, that is ISRO, was opened up to private players. And that is the time my organization came into being, and InSpace was made, which is basically an organization to promote, authorize, and regulate space. All these things happened between 2020 and 2022. And the best part is in 2023, and even in the end of 2022, there have been startups and private players in India who have proved their scientific ability. We have a company called Skyroot in India, which was able to launch a rocket in October of 2022. Today, from here, I'm going down to Sriharikota, and the next startup, which was incubated in IIT Chennai, is going to have their suborbital launch of a rocket, Agnikul. And what is special about this launch by the startup is that the complete engine has been manufactured by 3D printing. This is a complete engine. And I'm praying that, and we should all pray that tomorrow morning, when it happens, it is successful. With this happening, the government, when 2.5 years back I made this association, I met all who were there in space. Fortunately, because for 60 years ISRO has been there, that is the ecosystem. There were suppliers, there were people who were producing products for ISRO who have abilities in components, subsystems of satellites. They start from Larsen and Toubro to Walchand Industries, to many of them, and many small MSMEs, 2002. Today, startups also, because when I met, what I was trying to tell you was initially when I met them, I was asking them, what are your challenges? They said, well, firstly, there is no regulation, there are no funds, there is no market, and we don't even know how to apply and other things. The government in the last 2 years has taken out space policy, which is very forward. It is when this policy was made from day one, there was an interaction with our association. One. Number two was when the policy has come out, it has given us more than what the private sector was expecting. Because it allows private players to do everything. Make rockets, make satellites, and even carry out asteroid mining, they are capable of, or land on the moon. Very recently, in April, the FDI policy has also come, and that is also a very liberal one, varying from 100% to 51% for private players for FDI's investment in India. With this, what has happened in the communication domain in there is a company, you would all know about it, Eutelsat OneWeb, which has a large ownership by Bharti Airtel. And that company has already launched 648 satellites in the low Earth orbit at about 1200 kilometers and is already providing communication in some parts of the world. They have been given a license and sanctions in India. They're waiting for the final spectrum to be allocated to them, and this service would be available to every Indian very soon. Starlink also, which has 6,000 satellites providing low communication, is also on the threshold of coming into India. They have applied for their license. Now, what will happen with satellite communication coming into it? Will it make terrestrial communication redundant? Not at all. At cost basis, it cannot compete. But what it does is, it connects those places where terrestrial communication cannot. Where the cost of fiber, because of the challenges of geography, low population, where terrestrial communication cannot reach, satellite communication has reached there and will reach. Also, it will be a co-traveler to provide more capacities, which day in and day out, the demand is increasing quite a bit. Very soon, we had done a study along with NASCOM as well as Deloitte as to see what are the users for SAT services, and we came out with about 200 different use cases. Out of that, more than 60 to 80 use cases are in the domain of communication, where many are what 5G is doing. Maybe satellite communication will provide an additional support. I'll stop here and I'm ready to take any questions if they are later. Thank you. Jai.
Thank you, sir. And we will be opening the floor to questions. So everybody please be ready for that once the session is over. I would now like to call upon stage Mr. Digvijay Sharma, Senior Director Sales, CNI India. Digvijay ji is the Senior Director of Global Carrier Sales for CNI India, where he is responsible for sales, business development, and engineering support for key accounts as well as territories such as Nepal and Bangladesh. Mr. Sharma joined CNI India in 2011 from Televis, where he managed technical sales for their optical and access business in India. Previously, he's held positions at Norton in various technical support functions and served as an SME for optical and NMS solutions.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for giving me this opportunity to share my few thoughts with you all. Networks, they are integral part of our life today. From starting from the time that we wake up and we go back to sleep, everything revolves around them, and they are becoming more and more important as time goes by. Um, and the complexities of the network is increasing, the scale, capacities, everything is increasing, and hence the network architectures are also evolving. In the next slide, I'll show you a sneak peek of what's happening in the network architectures and the journey around it. In past, the networks were around largely providing connectivity and coverage, so that most of us, the larger mass, can talk to each other, have connectivity around them. That was first generation of the networks. The second generation of the networks came around when the data, right, the advent of all these OTT players, wherein the data was to reach to the users' devices or maybe the enterprises. So it was data going to the end users. That added some complexity. Basically, the data center would be at the core, and then the data has to reach to all the users. The next generation, the latest generation of the networks are about creating platforms to drive digital economy. One example to that could be like earlier, all the IT infrastructure used to be on the prem. Now, with public clouds coming up, that IT infrastructure in any of the organization is moving towards the cloud. As you can see, this and the flow of data not necessarily follow the flow of money does not necessarily follow the flow of data. That's another important aspect. Another example of it is with the advent of smartphones and 4G. We have all the services that we use today are in form of apps. They are available to us, like for shopping, for booking a cab, or maybe getting anything urgently to do a blanket. Everything is available, and everything is there into the cloud. Now, with these apps, what we need is these two strong platforms. One of them is the cloud platforms on which these apps would reside, and in order to enable that cloud platform, we need even more stronger connect platform. So this is the journey of the network, starting from basic connectivity to enabling the cloud platforms. I'll take a sneak peek into again into these two strong platforms. Another important aspect that is happening is that in order to provide users a ubiquitous experience everywhere, as well as the desired level of latency and reliability, even the cloud functions are moving towards the edge. Earlier, they used to be in one big data center residing at one location. Now they've started making regional data centers. Now these data centers are moving towards the edge, and that is this architect, this change from core to the edge is bringing in architectural change into the networks the way they are made. Plus, the capacities of these networks are also increasing quite drastically. Few more key aspects of building the networks. India is a unique market from the perspective of certain key aspects. We have close to 1 billion broadband subscribers. We have the cheapest data and the highest consumptions. So, what does it do to the connect platforms? It builds we need a lot of capacity. The network has to be far more scalable. When we moved from 3G to 4G, there was a 40x capacity increase. God knows what it is going to do when we are going to when we would be fully utilizing 5G. The anticipation is it's going to be not a 40 times what we have been using in 4G. So this brings a key requirement onto the network that these networks should be scalable. Another key aspect is that we have one of the largest populations, so our networks are one of the largest networks in the world. But if you talk about the R2, average revenue per user, it is the lowest in the world. And as said that we consume the highest capacity. So we not only need these scalable networks, we also need cost-effective networks. Plus, India is a developing economy, and because by virtue of that, there are all new highways coming up, or we all love going on rides on them. But what it does to the telecom infrastructure, the number of fiber breaks that are there in India is not even comparable to any other country. So this not only we have to make the network scalable, cost effective, but we have to make them reliable also. And this also adds, because in order to make network reliable, you have to add more resiliency and add more redundancy, and that comes with a cost. And as we are moving further in age of AI and all the intelligence that we have in the network, the automation part of it also comes into it. It adds not only it not only adds more reliability, brings more consistency. So these aspects bring a programmable aspect into the network designs as well. So not only we need networks that are scalable, we need networks that are cost effective, reliable, and programmable. Apart from that, while we are doing all these things, there are multiple layers into the network, and these adds complexity to a service provider. And we need all these layers within the network to be working in a more collaborative, more cooperative manner, so that the network constructs are more simpler. The more complex the network constructs are, they are more difficult to maintain, manage, and operate. So we have to have this constraint also in our mind. Whatever that we build has to be more simpler, more flatter in nature. So that networks that are building now are collapsing multiple layers into simpler layers. And sustainability. Sienna as an organization has sustainability in center, and it's not just because it's a global thing. It's at the center of all the initiatives. So carbon footprint reduction is one of the key parameters that goes into all this. Now, while we do all these things, we have design constraints, we have got complexity, and we have sustainability targets to attain. We would like to give our customers all these complexities shall remain under the hood, and our customers should get the service provider and eventually the end users, the wider mass, simplicity in network operation. So, as well as while we use the networks. Thank you. Please, these are the thoughts.
Thank you so much, gentlemen. And can I open the floor to some questions, please? If you have questions for our panel here, anybody wants to raise hands? Oh, we have someone on the front. So, can you have mics here, please? Either way. So you have to switch it on.
Yeah. Thank you, I'm Dr. S.N. Gupta from LGFT Foundation. The question from your last slide, Mr. Divya Sharma, like you showed the diagram. On top of that was IP, below that the carrier Ethernet, and then other layers, and below that you mentioned a word where I have a question, the optical spectrum. So what that actually means, just for my understanding.
Sure, sure. So basically, in the fiber, I have a problem. I'm audible.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So in the optical fiber, there are windows wherein the resistance to the light waves is least. And in those, so most of the optical transmission networks work within that spectrum where the resistance to the light wave is least, so that we can go the farthest and carry the most data. So that window is a spectrum, and that's what we call about. We try to maximize the utilization of that spectrum and send most data within that window. So that's what we mean by spectrum.
And also, I hope it includes the free space optics also.
Free space optics is, as it says, it's free space optics. It's into the wider media. What we are talking about spectrum here is that within the fiber, fiber as the media, not the air.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Next question, please.
Hello everyone. So my question is for Mr. Bhatt. So I just want to know, in last decade, which two technologies have disrupted the space of space technology the most?
So what has disrupted it most is reusable rockets, because it has brought, firstly, reusable rocket is a very difficult, rocket science itself is very complicated as you know. But reusable rocket means you can time and again use the rocket, and you need to see any of the launches of SpaceX and see how rocket goes up, then comes downward and is controlled. It can even land on a ship. What it has done is it has brought the cost to 1/5. The intent is to bring the cost further down, because presently only one stage has been made usable. The other technology which has been there is in communication. That is, geo was where communication was, satellite communication from, and it was a huge problem of latency. Now it has been brought down to 500 kilometers, the low Earth orbit, where the problem of latency has been removed. In fact, it has become a tower in the sky. And the fear is that it will compete with terrestrial communication. It won't happen immediately, but if the costs do match up, which maybe happens after decades, here is an alternative means of communication where you may not even require towers.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Goyal, wanted to ask a question. Mr. Goyal, please.
It's not a question, it's a compliment to the two leaders we have on the dais. One is the Padyaji. I want to compliment you for taking India on the world map of manufacturing 5G. Never in the hopes in the past which is now there. And to Pradeep ji for taking Voice&Data till today, right from the first lesson report policy. Thank you.
Thank you so much for those kind words. Pass it to the line, please.
Thank you. So my name is Sudakshina. I work for Ericsson.
And my question is to Dr. Upadhyay because I started my career with CDOT, during RATS and Max Excel days 25 years back. So it's really an honor to be here again as user. So my question is that there was a time when CDOT brought the complete telecom revolution in India and spreading it across all the corners of the rural areas of India. So what is the role CDOT is playing now in context of extending all the 5G use cases to all the corners, or is CDOT playing a role, and then what does it plan to do?
Thank you. See what has happened that the first requirement is that we ourselves should know how to manufacture. So 2G, 3G, we lost the race. We did not even invest on developing this technology. I don't say that we were not capable. Somehow nobody thought about it. 2020, we were given this mandate to develop 4G, 5G by Honorable Prime Minister. And believe me, within 2 to 3 years, we have become the fifth country in the world to have its own 4G and 5G. It is already implemented, it is already serving, and the complete pan India launch is somewhere in now. Related to 5G and IoT, I will not only limit to 5G and IoT. We have a center of innovation where person can be partners come and develop these 5G use cases. In terms of developing technology, not only 5G, even in 6G, we have funded two projects. One is around 110 crores, another is 170 crores. One project has gone, is led by IT Chennai. We funded two radio consortium, $10 million each for making the radio. We have 600 crore of it have been doing. And we will invite comments, suggestions from all of you. Think that we should do things differently or we should change something, to change the policy, talk to the things. We are very open. Today the government is very, very open because the government of technology and media will be already in global space. As our minister keeps talking about that, we have already inquiries. We are waiting for the pan India launch of PSNL. After that, we start developing the now, apart from 4G, 5G, 6G, we have Smart City Alliance, we have Quantum Alliance, we have Cybersecurity Alliance in our website. Any of the startups industry that we are working in this area can be part of that alliance completely so that we develop the ecosystem not only in 5G but the other relevant technologies like cybersecurity, quantum. So we are fully open to work with the industry and these.
Thank you. I have time for only one more question. Anyone else?
Just one. So, what about the standards also? 6G, I think there is some point there. Perhaps you would like to share work on standards.
For 6G, I think you all may be aware that Honorable Prime Minister should come from India. Because what happens, as I spoke in my speech, that unless until you have the standard bodies, GPP, unless our standards go in, we will not survive. Because whatever you develop, you will have to pay for SCP, standard essential credit. And therefore, in 6G, lead has been taken. We are working right from the beginning with academia and PSDSI. You may be aware that already company like, for example, YSEC funded by us has 100 patents in 6G. So, which was not there earlier. So now the government is working very closely with GSDSI, academia, and the startup and promote the standardization. Even the research which we are, saying that it should be standard-driven research. Whatever the standards are likely to come, or how the standards are formed. People do research and then they bring that idea to the 3GPP, and if the 3GPP gets a standard, it becomes a standard. And therefore, when whoever implements will have to pay. I would also use this platform as an opportunity for the startups. Getting into the patent war is very, very difficult. How to file patent itself is a difficult task. Government of India has tasked CDOT take the patent challenge for startups. So any startup having any problem in patent filing, patent war, patent infringement, we will support. And government is thinking of developing a sovereign fund which will, actually help these startups to, if we need to pay for some patent, I think we should say sovereign development fund will be able. The standards work is happening. Government of India is very, 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 very serious about it. that unless standards are there, unless we have good presence, our honorable minister said our target is 10% of IPS should come from India. So I think we are all working towards that. And in the 6G space, definitely we started early because 6G will come by 2028, 2030. So still we have 4 years of time, and we all are working. Our 6G alliance we have formed. We have partnership with XG Alliance of US, working very closely with them. We're working all the stakeholders to ensure that we collectively we push our standards in standard body, so that we also stay ahead in the race as far as standards are concerned.
On that note, thank you so much, gentlemen, for this conversation and giving us into vision of what the connected future would look like. I would now like to request PG to give them, our dear panelists, a token of appreciation and gratitude from Cyberwave. Meanwhile, I would also request the audience that you have feedback forms that are available at the registration desk outside. So whenever we have breaks, please do collect them and fill in your feedback. It will help us curate sessions and the conclave for the future. And also, please do visit the Cyber Media stall outside for the issues and subscriptions that are available at a discount. Thank you so much, gentlemen. Moving on. Ladies and gentlemen and guests and the tech enthusiasts, welcome now to our next session on 5G and beyond, unleashing the potential of hyperconnectivity. In a world where connectivity is the lifeblood of progress, 5G technology emerges as a game changer, promising lightning fast speeds, ultra low latency, and unprecedented reliability. But what lies beyond 5G? That's what we are here to explore today. Today we'll delve into the transformative potential of hyperconnectivity and envision a future where every corner of the globe is seamlessly integrated into the digital fabric. We'll hear from industry experts, thought leaders, and visionaries who are shaping the trajectory of connectivity